The last time the Spartanburg Philharmonic did an all John Williams concert, the first concert sold out and they created a second concert. What a great problem to have if you're an orchestra. And also, many of you will remember from that concert, we had a very special guest conductor dressed up as Darth Vader. Now, under that mask and behind that lightsaber was a dear friend of the Philharmonic, Mr. Jimmy Gibson. And I'd like to interview him now about his experience conducting the Philharmonic. Hey, Jimmy, how are you today?
I'm doing good, Stefan. You know, if I was any better, I'd be twins.
Well, hello. We got a little twin thing going on here.
I got a beard. I'm going to start here pretty soon.
Yeah, so. Okay. So, speaking of John Williams and all of this incredible music, for those of us that are in the Spartanburg Philharmonic family, of course, everyone cannot forget the last time there was a John Williams concert here, there was a special guest conductor, and that special guest conductor was you, sir. So let's talk about that a little bit. And how did this opportunity to conduct the orchestra come about for you?
Well, I was the obvious choice. Not really. What happened is they had a silent auction, and a gentleman won the silent auction, but something came up and he couldn't do it. So I volunteered my services because it was something that I always wanted to do. And I talked to Peter and Catherine, and they both agreed. So we came up, and I said, well, if I'm going to do this, I kind of want to get the audience involved. I want to make them laugh, and do some little antics up there on stage. So they agreed, and we come up with this little skit, and that's how I started to do it, which was totally amazing. It was something that I had no idea what I was getting into.
Yeah. That's how most conductors' careers start, I think.
Yeah, Peter, he gave me a copy of the sound, so I listened to it, made sure I knew the music and all that, but I didn't know what the heck I was doing.
So, it occurred to me that we made our Spartanburg Philharmonic conducting debuts in the same season.
I'm telling you what,
2 years ago. Well, 2 years ago was the Search season, or 3 years ago. And that was the first time I conducted the Spartanburg Philharmonic. That was the first time you conducted the Spartanburg Philharmonic. So, hey, pretty cool. Yes. So did you do anything to prepare for that? Like, I know Peter gave you a recording and stuff, but like...
I not really. I listened to the music and I thought, well, I can get up there and, do this. And then when the time come to do the first rehearsal, I got up on stage there and kind of looked around and said, oh, man, am I in trouble? And I kind of told the orchestra, and it was just the strings, I said, okay, I really don't know what I'm doing, so you got to help me out here.
Yeah. So
we started, I said, now when I go like this, you all start. After that, good luck. So, I started out and really didn't know what I was doing, and my arms were way up here. And by the end of the 3 minutes, my arms were way down here because they were so heavy.
Yeah.
And then after the rehearsal, a number of the members of the orchestra came up to me and said, okay, Jimmy, look, obviously you don't know what you're doing, so let's do something. So they started giving me little hints on things that I could do to make it a little bit funny, and to help me out and get the audience involved, So I took what they said and I did it. And Brenda, the first chair celloist,
Brenda Leonard, yeah.
If it wasn't for her, I don't know what I would have done, because the second time we rehearsed, I said, Brenda, I have no idea when this thing starts and when it ends. I said, you're going to have to look at me occasionally, and I'm going to look at you and say, tell me if it's getting close or not, And during the actual thing with the audience, I kept looking at Brenda, and she kept going, no. And I'm going, can't you have that much longer to go? So, and then, like a lot of people don't know this, but they probably think it was part of the little skit. I go up on stage to start, and I grabbed the baton and I dropped it.
Oh.
Okay. And it fell on the floor. So I had to go down and get that. But it turned out really good. The best thing about it was was seeing how professional the orchestra was and the sound. I mean, you think when you're in the audience, you get a good sound, but you don't know what the sound is until you're standing right
being
there.
that close to it. I was going to ask you, like, what does that feel like?
It just felt like a bomb was going off. You could feel the vibration, Yeah. And then, all of a sudden the violins would be playing. All of a sudden the cello would start. And I'd go over here like this because I had no idea what was going on. And it was very surprising on like I said, just how strong it was. Yeah. And the look on their faces. I mean, they were having just as much fun as I was. Yeah. Well, that's good. And they were some of them were just, I thought we were going to keel over laughing, but they're still playing, having a good time. Yeah. So it was really good. It was something I've always wanted to do. And I don't know how you do it. I really don't know how you can do that with a full orchestra.
I was going to ask, so now that you can add having conducted a professional orchestra to your resume, what advice would you give anyone else that is interested in doing this? Now that you're, a conductor.
Call me so I can tell you, don't do it. No, the first thing, I think a person who wants to be a conductor, first of all, needs to learn to play an instrument, okay, and play it well. Not just learn how to do a few things, but really learn, like you played the trombone, you were very, very good at it. Sarah, I believe, played the violin and a few other things, but I think you need to know how to play an instrument and play that instrument in an orchestra setting. Yeah. Okay. So you can understand what goes on. Yeah. Then you just have to study, and then do a little bit more studying. And then when you're done, study some more.
That's right. It never ends.
And then you truly, having talked to you many times about how you do it, you have to know how to read the music for every instrument. Yeah. And that's just, I don't know how you do that. To me, that's just mind-boggling how you can stand up there in front of a full orchestra and know every instrument, what they're doing, when they're going to do it, how they should be doing it. That's just true dedication. Yeah. And it's not something that you can do overnight. It's something that takes years to perfect.
You're right. It takes a whole lifetime, it never ends,
And you spend hours, reading music, studying the music, listening to the music. So you can, as the musicians are doing the same thing. They're studying their music, they're practicing. So it's tough. If I was going to give anybody advice, just be prepared to do a lot of studying, a lot of practicing, give up a lot of your own free time and personal time. Yeah. And when you get up on that stage, know the music. Right. You have to know the music that you're going to conduct, or you're going to be in trouble like I was.
Yeah. I often tell young conductors exactly what you just said. Don't stop trying to master your instrument, because what you're doing on that instrument is learning how to express yourself and make music. And really, conducting is the exact same thing. It's just that your instrument is very different. Your instrument is now the orchestra. And it takes at least one lifetime to learn how to play that instrument, the orchestra, masterfully. Because the orchestra is very different from a violin or a trombone in that you can't practice the orchestra. No, you can only conduct the orchestra. Right. And when you think about, what is involved in getting an orchestra to be in front of you, that's a lot. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of resources, So it's really, like you said, a game of experience and study and devotion to your craft. And I'm so glad to know that we have another fantastic conductor in Spartanburg, ready to go at a moment's notice.
Anytime. I'm ready. Yeah. I'll jump right in there. It's not a problem.
So let me ask you, when you think of the music of John Williams, what are some of the movies or soundtracks that you immediately think of?
Well, I think most people, the first thing that comes to their mind is Star Wars. Yeah. That's a big thing. Star Wars, it was just a beautiful. I mean, he did just such a great job. And I just don't know how the guy could think of all that music put it all together. I thought Indiana Jones was another good one.
Yeah.
Schindler's List.
Oh yeah.
Comes to mind. Another one would be Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
And I don't know a lot about him, but I do know he started way back in 1955.
Yeah.
Doing
Johnny
things.
Williams.
Yes. Jaws is another one that comes to mind. Superman.
Yeah.
When you hear these things, you don't know that he did those.
Right.
A lot of people don't know that. And all of a sudden they hear he did that.
Yeah.
He did this.
Right.
The man's just got to be just full of talent. His head has got to have so many notes in it.
Yeah.
And he's got to be thinking all the time about music and what else he can do.
Right.
It's incredible. He's a phenomenal guy.
Yeah.
And he can put music together and put it on a sheet of paper and make it come to life.
Yeah.
Which is extremely hard to do.
Yeah. And he is incredibly generous too. When he conducts orchestras, still to this day in his, mid 80s, he still conducts, not as much as he once did, but when he does, he donates his fees to the orchestra.
Oh, wow, that's
he really is using his platform and his celebrity to help musical organizations. And that is remarkable because, especially today, musical organizations need help. So anyway, beyond the composer, beyond the genius, he is a wonderful human being and an incredible, servant of the art form. And, just we're grateful for his music and his person.
We don't have a lot of composers around like him. There's a lot of composers, but that can come up with this great music, time after time after time after time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are pieces that he has written that he's thrown away or sitting off somewhere that he hasn't completed or doesn't like. And one day, 50 years from now, they'll find them and say, oh, this is a great piece.
Yeah, right.
So,
well, yeah, actually, he writes music not for film. He writes music strictly for the orchestra and the concert hall. Most notably, he's written a bunch of concertos for solo instruments and orchestra. They don't get played that often. But when they do, I think the first thing people realize is how different it is from his film music. It's we know John Williams because of these great themes and these film scores. But when you hear his non-film music, it doesn't have that recognizable, sound that we're used to. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But anyway, it just shows the range of this genius. He can write everything from a melody that you'll be whistling or humming as you leave the movie, the cinema, to a very complex, 20th, 21st century piece of music that is not so hummable. Just put it.
Yeah, you can just play a couple notes of the Star Wars thing and everybody starts it. They start humming it.
Yeah.
They know exactly what it is.
Exactly.
It's amazing how it's in your head.
Yeah. I tell people, I believe that John Williams is probably the most famous orchestral composer to have ever lived because of the fame of those films. Everybody in the world almost knows the music or has heard the music of John Williams because of like Star Wars, Superman, Indiana Jones. It's incredible.
I would agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
That's what made him famous.
Yeah. And, these movies that he's written this music for, they oftentimes have a lot to do with the struggle between good and evil and heroes and villains. And anybody that knows you, Jimmy, knows that you are a living hero and you served our country as a Marine for many years. And I'd love for you to just tell us a little bit about your experience and what heroism means to you.
Well, thank you for considering me a hero. I appreciate that. And I hope I live my life to where I set the example for that. But, there's a lot of heroes out there. You got all the first responders every day risking their life, doctors, nurses nowadays, even little kids out on their front lawn selling lemonade to buy shoes for the homeless. Heroes come in many, many sizes. And I think you can ask anybody who is considered a hero if they're really a hero, and they'll probably tell you, no, it's the people that paid the ultimate sacrifice. That's the true hero. Mm-hmm. That's what I think a hero should be, is somebody who is kind of silent, but lives an honest life, sets the example. That's a true hero, and somebody who, I'm a true patriot. When you guys play the national anthem at the beginning of the season, if you turned around and looked at me, you'd see tears running down my eye.
No.
I mean, I'm a very patriotic individual. The Marine Corps was very, very good to me. I was in for 23 years. I was lucky enough to make the rank of sergeant major and retired. I spent 3 years in Vietnam. I've been all over the place. I was very lucky to meet President Reagan and Nancy Reagan in his office at Camp David. Now, let me tell you, when you go into the president's office, it's a little bit different than going into somebody else's office. And then when he treats you the way he treated me, like he actually worked for me, I mean, it was really it was unbelievable. He was just such a nice guy. And then we were sitting there talking, and he gave me a jar of jelly beans, and then Nancy walks in, and I'm going, oh my God, and it was amazing. And we literally talked for probably 15 minutes. And then when it was over with, he said, now, Sergeant Major, he said, if you ever need anything, he said, you just get on the phone and call me. And he said, I'll see what I can do for you.
Wow.
So, things like that was just amazing. I spent a lot of time in California. I was a drill instructor for 2 years. I taught at drill instructor school for a year. I went to headquarters Marine Corps, did a lot at headquarters Marine Corps, been involved in a lot of different operations. My son actually joined the Marine Corps. He was in for 13 years. He was an F-18 pilot. He was in during the 9/11 thing. And now he is a captain for Southwest. My other son, and I'll just put in a little trick for him. He is a research scientist in Canada, and they built him a $16 million lab for research.
Wow.
And right now he is researching the virus.
Wow.
And he called me yesterday and he said, Dad, Friday morning at 9:00, the only thing between me and COVID-19 is going to be a pair of gloves.
Whoa.
And I'm going, okay.
Whoa.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's all excited. They're going to be
two
level
pairs of
3.
gloves.
Yeah, 2 pairs of gloves. He's going to be in level 3, with all the stuff on and all that, negative airflow and all that kind of stuff, for 5 hours doing a bunch of tests.
Wow.
So my kids liked the Marine Corps. They liked moving around. They would actually come to me after about 3 years and say, Dad, when are we moving? So they enjoyed it. But the Marine Corps was good to me. I loved it. Like I said, I'm very patriotic. I love the national anthem. When you talk about heroes, you can look at the orchestra. And when I look at the orchestra sitting back in the audience, I look up there and I see you and everybody in a full orchestra. And they're true heroes to me. I mean, you look at some of those people, including you, they've been working on that instrument since some of them when they were 5, 6 years old.
Yeah, long time.
And their whole life has been spent learning how to play that instrument, whatever it may be, the triangle that Matt always kids about, or the violin or the bass. They give up a lot of their time. They give a lot of everything. Yeah. And they're up there sweating, really working hard, and they enjoy what they do. You look at the orchestra that we have, and you look at you, and you can see the enjoyment that they get out of playing, and when they stand up, they're all smiling because they just love it. And it's, they're heroes. Everybody's a hero. Yeah. So,
well, Jimmy, thank you for your kind words, and thank you, more importantly, for your incredible service to our nation.
It was my pleasure. Trust me.
Yeah. Well, you serve our community in a number of ways. Anyone that knows you knows that. And one of the really great ways that you serve our community is that you've been on the board of the Spartanburg Philharmonic for the last 3 years. And how's that been for you? I mean, a good experience. What can you do? What can you say to others about serving on the Philharmonic board?
I think if anybody gets a call asking them to be on the board, they should say yes. One, I think it's a good thing to do. It's a good service. We have a great board.
Yeah.
You know, everybody gets involved. We have different separate committees, and we all work hard to help the Philharmonic. When I first got to the board, I was amazed at what it really took to keep the orchestra going.
Mm-hmm.
How much work behind the lines that nobody sees that keeps the orchestra going, keeps the musicians there, keeps you there. Yeah. You know, you got Catherine, Courtney, Peter, yourself, you know, everybody. It's a lot of, I'm not going to say it's hard work, but it is hard work, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Because
you get to meet the orchestra, you know, face to face. You get to shake their hands. You get to talk to them. You get to see what they're like, you know, plus you get to meet the audience. You get to meet the patrons, you know, that come in, and you sit there and talk to them, and how much they love the orchestra. Right. It has been just a great experience for me. And I hope to stay on the board for quite a bit longer.
Excellent. Well, Jimmy, thank you so much for your time today. And thank you so much for all you've done for our country and our community. We're very grateful to call you a friend and board member. And thank you. Thank you
very much. I do appreciate it. You have a good day and stay safe.
All right. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
They have conquered the galaxies. They have defeated the Jedi. And they have mastered the Force. And they have yet to conduct the work.
That takes some years of training, and usually, you know, you want to get some experience doing it first. But do you even have a baton? Like, what did you have in mind to conduct today?
You will lead the stage. I will conduct the Olympic fanfare.
I will lead the stage.